anything you've been putting off. Maybe you say, someday I'll do that, or when I have more time. Whether the item is a big bucket list item or something smaller like going on a hike, now is the time to start your Say Yes list. And we have the perfect process to help you turn these items into reality. Join thousands of others with our free Say Yes list template at thesayyesexperience.com/list. It'll help you stop living in that someday and start making those list items come true today. So download it now at thesayyesexperience.com/list. Welcome to the Say Yes Experience podcast, where we inspire you to get out of your comfort zone and into possibility. Our mission at the Say Yes Experience is to empower 10 million people to say yes. If you're new here, welcome. We're thrilled you're here. I'm Jessica Rector. I co-founded the Say Yes Experience with my then 9-year-old son Blaze, based off his idea to let's just say yes to things. I'm one of the top experts on burnout, and companies and conferences hire me to present on mental health, wellness, and burnout prevention. As the #1 best-selling author of 11 books, keynote speaker, and a burnout specialist, I've seen so much with our clients. The Say Yes Experience was started to help you really start living, to do the things that light you up, have more fun, and turn your dreams, or what we call Say Yes list items, into reality. So thank you for investing in yourself and being here. Now let's make it happen. Imagine your parents moving to another country, buying an older house, and deciding to fix it up. Our guest, Arden Stringer, had a big say yes when she unexpectedly decided to join her parents. If you've ever thought about living in another country, or just visiting one, or maybe just navigating another city, this is the episode for you. Arden shares her journey of venturing to another country, finding her way, and creating a life in an unfamiliar place. Sounds intriguing and fun, all the while sharing her story and her parents' house renovation to her huge social media following. And please help me welcome my guest today, Arden Stringer. Woo! Thanks for coming on the show, Arden.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here today.
You have such a beautiful name. I love that name, Arden. It's unique. But I love your story. So you used to live in Texas, and then you had a say yes and moved to another country. So tell us a little bit about that, and who came up with the idea? How did it happen? Because that's a big one.
So this is such a long story. I'll try and trim it down as quick as I can. But so my family and I have 2 brothers and a sister and my parents. My sister lives in California, and my 2 brothers and I, with my parents, lived in Dallas. And we'd been there basically for 30 years while my dad was a doctor at a hospital there. And we're Irish in our ancestry, quite far back, less Irish than I feel like a lot of people are. But we just really strongly related to it. And we grew up Irish step dancing and being really part of that culture. And my brother took that very seriously, and he became a professional Irish step dancer. So he's been living in Ireland on and off for the last 10 years. Touring with different Irish dance troupes, and now he teaches Irish dancing. So he's really kind of planted himself over here, and we've been daydreaming about it for 5-10 years, like everybody does. They have to, when we retire, we're gonna, buy a villa in Italy or whatever,
One day.
I know, exactly. But someday became maybe tomorrow, maybe next year, because during the pandemic, my dad was looking at retirement. He faced a lot of health issues. He had a brain tumor. It was benign. And then he had bladder cancer. And, life just starts seeming more tenuous and just, do what you want now,
Absolutely.
And so he was about 75 and retiring. Thank God. He's been working for so long. He deserves a break. And he and my mom were like, well, we were in Dallas for your work. My mom's an artist and can work anywhere. And they started looking at their retirement visas in Ireland during the pandemic. And it took about 2 years for them to really get all that paperwork done. It's a huge, bureaucratic, logistical, not nightmare, but undertaking.
Right.
And it took them the better part of 2 years to really, to get approved. And they weren't really serious about looking for property until they got approved for that visa. Right. Putting our house on the market. I was living at home during the pandemic, so they didn't start looking at putting our house on the market until, you know, the visa became a real thing. And so I'll stop there and give you a chance to absorb.
Oh my gosh, so it's fascinating. So do you think you primarily, or were they looking at multiple countries, or did they specifically hone in on Ireland primarily because your culture and primarily because your brother was living there?
Yeah, it's really the only place that was in consideration. We love Italy as well, and my family has friends there and they visited there a good bit. But Ireland, because of my brother's dance career, we've been visiting since I was little. My brother's 5 years older than me, so we've been visiting since I was little and have great family friends here. It felt like we nearly had more of a community here than we did in Dallas, just because Dallas is so big.
It's huge.
And it's just hard to find your niche and your community in such a big place. And we had our people, but just looking for a change. And when you're thinking about that change, Ireland was really the only place we wanted to be.
And you know what strikes me so much is, so I'm in Fort Worth, so I'm right there in Metroplex with you, right? And my son and I, he's 10, Blaze, he and I went to Ireland last summer. Now, I had been before, but we did this what we call like a 30-day say yes journey. So we went to 4 different countries and we just tried different things and different food and different experiences and that kind of stuff. And one of the ones that we really loved on that journey was Ireland. Like, I'm part Irish too, right? But going and seeing how just different countries and cultures work. But one thing that fascinates me about Ireland is that we went to Dingle, and that was one of our favorite places in Ireland, was Dingle. Well, it's a small community, right? It's small. It tends to be a summer hot spot. Lots of tourists there in the summer. But what we loved is we did an Airbnb, and our host said, "Oh, don't worry about locking. Like, people don't lock the doors. We don't lock our cars. We don't." And I was just like, "Yeah, we would never think of not locking those things like in Texas, right? Or even in the United States. It's like we would never think of it. You could walk safely around there, or not fear anything." And one of the things he said is, you know, in America, you know, different cultures have perceptions of America too. But he said in America, people are carrying around guns all the time. And in Texas, that's definitely true, right? And he's like, you would never see someone out here carrying around a gun. Like, that's just unheard of. People are so incredibly safe.
Yeah.
No, well, that may be why people are carrying around guns too.
No, it's such a different way of life.
It is.
It's a much slower way of life and a simpler way of life. And maybe simple is not the right word, but it seems more in line with our values. And like, for example, I live in town with my brother when I'm visiting. Right now, I'm still kind of transitioning to living over here, and I'm going to start my MBA in Galway in the fall.
Oh, nice.
So that'll be my ticket to a visa in the short term.
Yeah.
But when I'm visiting, I'm here with my brother, and we went over to our parents' house for dinner, which is about half an hour outside of Galway in Uachtarard. And we just went over, and there were like 3 cars parked outside. And we were like, who's at the house? So we walked in, and a bunch of my parents' friends had just called in for a cup of tea. And that's just not something that happened in Dallas. And it wasn't because they didn't have friends. It was just not the way. Like, life is too fast. People are too busy. They just don't come over for a cup of tea to have a chat. And
imagine, like, I can't even imagine someone saying, and I love hot tea. So, you know, I would love someone to come over and just say, I'm coming over for a cup of tea and let's just chat. Like, I would love that. And then that chat would have been like a 15-minute chat. It turns into several hours, right?
It was several minutes. That's what happened. We had spaghetti bolognese, and my mom was like, gosh, I hope I have enough. Like, the girls are still here. And I was like, well, we'll just pull up a few more chairs and make some more pasta. Like, now this is our life now. And like, more the merrier. There's always room for one more at the table. And it just seems so much more in line with our values and safety wise. Like, obviously bad things happen everywhere. Like, you know, bad things happen everywhere, but people aren't walking around with the type of weapons that you have in the country. I mean, I didn't want to get too much into politics just for being, respectful. But that was a huge part of the reason of why we decided to leave America, and just the unsafety my parents felt during the pandemic, and they were ready for a change to that type of lifestyle where it was just a safer, like you were saying, in Dingle, basically.
Yeah. And I think it's a completely different mindset as well when you're over there. Like a lot more easygoing, stress-free, relaxing, kind of go with the flow, take longer meal time and really enjoy it. It seems to be more about community and relationships and just, if you will, hanging out and enjoying life. And especially with so much going on, I mean, it's easy to get stressed and overwhelmed and burned out, that we need more of that easygoing kind of way of life. So once your parents got the visa, how challenging or easy was it for them to find a place and actually move over there? Because I think it might be easy to think about, oh yeah, one day, someday, I'm going to live by that. And then most people never do it, right? It just keeps being a one day, someday kind of thing. And so what was the process like for them to go from, okay, now take on the challenge of getting the visa and the process, right? Just the long process of getting something like that and applying and all the things that come with that, but then actually finding a place over there and making the move, because that's a big part too, actually making the move that far away.
Right. So I think it was in and around the spring or summer of 2021 or 2022, I'm sorry, that they got approved for their visa. And in September, we took a family trip over to Ireland. My brother was with us at the time, and to look at properties. So we had a friend here who was like, I'll keep my eye peeled. I know what you're looking for. And what we were looking for was, so my mom's an artist, like I said, and our home in Dallas was very curated. It was she had her fingerprint everywhere. She Venetian plastered the walls herself. She did a mosaic above the stove herself, just very specialized and unique. And so she wasn't going to buy a cookie cutter house in town. She wanted to buy something that she could put her fingerprint on and really create the retirement home of their dreams. But it had to be at a price that they had the budget to then renovate, so you couldn't buy the peak of the litter just because you wouldn't have any money to renovate with afterwards.
Right.
And so they went in with that in mind, and we looked at some incredible homes, but we're at that top tier where you couldn't touch it, basically.
Right.
And then the houses that were maybe here and had money to renovate were an hour outside of Galway. We wanted to be in Galway because that's where my brother is, and that's the town we know best and that we love the most. Right. And so it took a while. And the first place that we actually looked at in person was called Ross Lake House Hotel. And it's in between two kind of villages called Moycullen and Uachtarard, and it's about half an hour outside of Galway. And the owners were 75 and 76, no children, and it had been on the market for, I think, at least 5 years, maybe 6 years. And it sounds crazy to buy a hotel, but it was on 7 acres, and it was at the price point where they were able to finagle a budget for turning it into what they wanted, turning it out of a commercial space, because it has a commercial kitchen, it has an event space.
Wow.
I mean, these things haven't been touched probably since the 80s or 70s, but big spaces. And so to turn that into a residence, it's gonna take a lot of, demolition.
It could take a lot of finances too, and time to do that. Yeah.
And time. Yeah. So they looked all over and they just kept coming back to the hotel, and it's on a beautiful piece of land. Literally, you turn off the main road and you drive into what feels like Lord of the Rings territory. There's like a Babylon brook to the side where it was once bright on the road. The trees have come over you like this, and it's dark and quiet, and you emerge out of this lane and you can see the hotel. And it's just like, is this actually where we live? Like, it's crazy. It's where my parents live. I lived in town. And it is just beautiful. And the owners themselves lived in a smaller property, or a smaller house on the same property that they called the cottage. And it hadn't been touched in a couple decades as well. And so my parents, right when they got access to the property, they, got new carpet. All of the siblings and I painted everything, baseboards, skirting boards, walls.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Just gave it a fresh coat of paint, fresh carpet, and just made it, a tiny bit freshened up for them, because that's where they will be living for the 2+ years that it'll take to renovate the big house.
Oh my gosh. Then what are they going to do with the cottage once the big house is renovated? Have they thought about that?
It can be a guest house. It could be, a house for one of the children as we get older. It's an asset for sure to have that little house.
Yeah.
But no specific plans for it yet.
How fun is that? And we connected on social media because I started seeing your move from Texas with that. And when I went, it's so funny, when we went to Dingle last year, I even said, ooh, I wonder how much properties are over here. This would be a nice summer residence is what I thought. Yeah, and we can just up over there in the summer and get away from it all. So I know that feeling of wanting to be there and in that environment. So we connected on social media and you were showing some of the things. And so it'll be interesting. And I hope you do this, which I'm sure it's probably your plan, to continue to show renovations and how things start and where they're going to be and stuff, because we always like to see the before and the after. Is that what you have in mind, to show all that?
Yes. So did you find, was it just my personal video that you saw on social media? I can't remember.
Yeah,
okay.
It was.
So yeah. I also have an account for, so the name of the hotel was Ross Lake House Hotel, but the original name of the land when it was a Georgian manor back in the 1860s was Killigile. And Killigile means Church of the Foreigners or Place of the Standing Stones. And we love the Church of the Foreigners translation for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And so I have a TikTok and an Instagram as well for Killigile House. And I've been sharing hotel tours, cottage renovation. We just exposed some of the original stone underneath the plaster of the hotel. So lots of fun.
That's super fascinating. I will definitely have to connect with that, and we'll put that in the show notes and everything, because that stuff is really fascinating. Oh my gosh. Isn't it? How cool is that? So then your parents found a place, and then how did you go about, they got a visa. How did you go about getting over there? Do you want to start saying yes, but you just don't know where to start? And oftentimes when we don't know where to start, we just don't start. So we created an ebook just for you. We put together 101 ways to say yes. In this ebook, ideas big and small, things that only take a small amount of time, like 1 to 2 minutes. Whether you're saying yes to yourself, in your family, relationships, or pushing yourself lovingly outside of your comfort zone with adventures, it's all made to really help you become more of your rock star self. So you can get this ebook at thesayyesexperience.com/book, BOOK. So if you want to start saying yes, or maybe you need some ideas on how to say yes because you get so caught up in being busy and doing tasks and projects or doing laundry and cooking that the time flies by and you want to spend time with your family, but you just don't know how to say yes. Those ideas just don't come to you. We put it together to make it super, super easy for you. So go to thesayyesexperience.com/book to get your copy today and start saying yes now. Are you feeling overwhelmed, stressed, or burned out? We get it. You're not alone. In fact, according to our research, 79% of the workforce is in burnout, and almost half are in extreme burnout. In fact, it's the #1 reason why people are leaving organizations. They're burned out. They're looking for something more. They're looking for something better. But it doesn't have to be that way. We have your solution. It's called Blaze Your Brain to Extinguish Burnout. 52 keys to prevent, breakthrough, and eliminate burnout. You can find your copy at jessicarector.com/store. Now, this is a great tool that you can use with yourself, with your colleagues, within your organization. Everyone can get one, and you can go through one a week with them. And at the end, you can say, what was something that worked this week? What was the success you had? So you can champion and encourage each other. You can also ask what were the challenges and issues that came up, so you can mastermind and brainstorm around those to keep those from coming up in the future. So make sure you get your copy at justcorrector.com/store. All books are autographed with a personal message just for you.
Yeah. So when they decided to sell the house, so that's where I was living as well. I was living with my folks during the pandemic. And when they decided to sell the house, like, we are such a close family. I'm like, I'm not staying here without you guys. So I quit my job.
Yeah.
I was in food styling at the time. I've got quite a circuit or a rambling path in my educational and work history. My background is in literature. I was doing some food writing at magazines at the time. Then I went to culinary school, and for the last 5 years, I've been in the food industry. And so the last 3 of those years, I was in food styling in Dallas. And
so what is food styling, Arden?
So it's like the hair and makeup of food is like the best way to describe it. Like, my coworker used to say, Cindy Crawford doesn't show up to the shoot looking like Cindy Crawford. There's a lot of people that got to get her, camera ready. And we are those people for food. So they were professionally trained chefs who style food for camera. Or, print ads or menu redesigns or commercials. It just depends. Whatever you're looking for, product packaging. Anyway, so I quit my job in that and got on a plane and didn't have a visa. And I've just been traveling for the last 10 months. And my boyfriend lives in Scotland, so that's handy. I'll visit him. I'll go visit some of my friends. I've got friends in Austria and all over the place. I had been saving for the last 3, 4, 5 years, knowing that something like this was probably coming, and to give me the breathing room to do that.
Yes.
And since I've been here, I've decided to go back to school and go to Galway University for my MBA in digital marketing. And so starting in September, I'll be on a student visa. So.
Nice. Okay. And so how long is that student visa, or how long is that program for your MBA?
It's a year. And then I think there's a scheme right now in Ireland for those who receive a higher education degree that you have 24 months to seek employment in Ireland. It used to be 12. I recently read 24. I'm still unclear on that, but I know there is a window after your student visa to seek employment in Ireland. So that's kind of my trajectory.
Yeah, so like 20 minutes. So did you meet your boyfriend over there, or was he over in the States and he came with you?
I met him online, actually, through my brother. We connected on Instagram. So my brother's an Irish dancer. My boyfriend is a Scottish traditional music player, so Scottish trad music player.
Yeah. And
those worlds are very close, the trad music and the Irish dancing world. And so they connected and they became friends, and then he and I connected.
Very cool. Oh, that's a great story. Now, did you connect with your boyfriend before you moved over there? Oh, yeah. So that helped the cause and moving over there.
Yeah. It was crazy. We started talking in like June of 2022. And you know how I said my family and I went to look at property in September? I told him, I was like, I'm actually going to be in Galway in September. And he was like, great, I'll book a ticket. So we met for like 2 days. We had 2 days together. And my mom was like, if you like him, invite him back to Dallas for Thanksgiving. And I was like, okay, we'll see. And then I did like him. So I invited him for Thanksgiving. And he came and spent 10 days with us. And then came back for Christmas. And then I saw him in March. And, so we did that for a while. And then he was like, it's very convenient that you're moving over to my side of the world. That's great. So it's all worked out.
Yeah, we love happy stories. Oh my gosh. And that's so inspiring for us all who are single and looking, person. You just never know where you're going to meet them and how it's going to happen. So what have your parents been thinking now that they've been over there, they got the property? What's kind of been the adjustment for everyone?
So the first several, maybe 6 to 8 months were full of, they got their PPS numbers, which is like their kind of their residency numbers, I think. Someone correct me if that's not right, because I'm not the person to ask. They got their driver's license. They had to take, their Irish driving test. They bought a car. They just all sorts of bureaucratic registration stuff that needed to happen. I feel like every day my dad was like, okay, I gotta check this box and tick this box.
Do something else.
So a bit overwhelming, but they just systematically worked their way through it. And, they found the hotel is a listed property, meaning it's protected because it was an original Irish hotel. There's a plaque on it that says original Irish hotel. So we had to work with a conservation architect to determine what we could and couldn't do to the building and what was protected and what wasn't, because, it had been added to in the 80s, I think. And, finding a builder, which is like a contractor for us and all that type of stuff. And I think that was a little overwhelming, just kind of like, whoa, we've been settled in our kind of easy life in Dallas for 20 years or whatever. Yeah. And now we're back grinding and figuring all this stuff out, but they did it. And now they're very happily settled at the cottage and just excited they've gotten their planning permissions approved for the plans that their conservation architect drew up, and just kind of waiting on the timeline of the builder. I think the builder they chose can't begin until the summer. Okay. And my parents actually went back to Dallas in April, I think, for some doctor's appointments. Like I said, my dad had some health issues and he was a doctor in Dallas. So he kind of wanted to go back to the established people he had and get his checkups and stuff done. And
now, Arden, when they applied for their visa, was it an unlimited visa? They can be over there indefinitely, or is it they can be over there 5 years and then they have to reapply? How did their specific visa work? And then also, why did you not apply for that same visa initially?
Well, so it's a retirement visa. So you have to prove that you have the assets to support yourself and not be a burden on the state. Right. And they're in that position when I'm.
Thank you. So it's indefinite. They can stay over there as long as they want on it.
They actually have to reapply every year, but from my understanding, it's more of a formality. Like they have to resubmit the paperwork to the guards here at the police, and kind of once they had all the big initial approval, bulk of their paperwork done, and I think yearly it's just show up, present this piece of paper, and it's kind of a formality, is my understanding.
Okay, because I was going to say, if they've got to redo that every year or every couple years, and that's a long process, you don't know if it's going to take another 2 years. I mean,
right.
Holy moly, that could be a long.
No, they're in a good spot. They're in a good spot right now. And then once I'm here for 5 years, I can apply for Irish citizenship. So anybody who's a legal resident of Ireland after 5 years can apply for Irish citizenship.
Then once you graduate and you find a job, does that job basically sponsor you to stay there?
Yes. And I think that'll be a lot easier coming from an Irish university in a well-known program. Like my background in writing and, in culinary aren't hard enough skills to, like hard versus soft, like hard enough skills to get sponsored at the moment. So I've just been doing some freelance writing work in the U.S., just while I've been traveling the last few months and just eating into my savings, really.
Well, and I think it's also going to be helpful for you because you have family planted there. Yeah. And when you go and apply for a visa, for citizenship, they also recognize, okay, that you have family that's staying here for, ties to the community, and that you want to stay there as well.
I've had so many people commenting on, the different videos I've made and everything, like, how did you do this? How long did you save? Just so many questions. And the whole time, I want to acknowledge the privilege that I have of getting to do this with my family. It's such a people say moving house is the hardest thing you'll ever do. And over an ocean is that much harder. And just the culture shock and just the readjustment. And I could have never done it without the support of, I know my family is half an hour away right now.
Yeah.
If I'm really, really stuck and really, really struggling, I know I'll be able to call on them. But at the same time, it's still on me to figure out my path and my way. And I'm really excited about what's coming in the fall with my MBA. And I've had just lots of opportunities come my way in the last few weeks. And I just feel like
what have been some of those opportunities?
Well, like you, for example, just getting to speak and share my story has been so exciting. I've gotten some really exciting kind of content development, recipe development things come my way. People who found me from social media like yourself, and I'm just, it's looking good, looking up.
And the crazy thing about that, Arden, is we can have the best laid plan and path in place and say, yes, this is what I'm going to get my MBA, and then I'm going to go get a job, and someone somewhere could find you and you can get your MBA and then say, okay, but I'm not going to get the type of job that I thought I was going to get. I'm going to do this instead, or I'm going to travel more and write more. And I mean, we have no idea. And that's what the beauty of it is that, especially when you're in Ireland, I mean, it's so easy to get to so many other countries and explore and travel. So I think that also opens up opportunities a lot more as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like when I go visit my boyfriend, I think I pay, 15 euros for a flight, which is like very similar to $15. Yeah, it's nothing. It's not great.
It's so crazy. It's so crazy. So, and what do you want people to learn? Because I think there's so many lessons that we can take away from what you and your family have done. What do you want people to learn in their lives? Because, one of the things that your parents have proved is doesn't matter your age, you can go out there and do it. You don't have to wait for some day or any day or daydream about it, but you can actually go and find a way to make it happen, make a plan, as well. So what do you want people to learn? And it might be, questions that you get asked the most or something that you've learned along the way. What would that be?
Well, that question makes me think of my dad and how he said he didn't want his retirement to just be a new chapter. He wanted it to be a whole new book. And so I'm not sure that there's a ton to learn from me, but to learn from my parents of just not accepting that the final quarter of their lives is going to be just mediocre. Like they had a nice life in Dallas. They really did, but they wanted more. And it was really hard and a lot of hard work and very, very, very stressful. And they did it. And I don't think I'm that brave. I would be more of an anxious overthinker. And my mom just has this vision for her life that she wants and has no qualms, no anxieties about going for it. And I think my dad is similar that way, maybe in a quieter way. And it gives me that kind of bravery and that ability to say it like this year has been so uncomfortable for me. It's been incredible and it's been such a blessing and so exciting, but it's also been incredibly uncomfortable. And coming to terms with leaving my home country for good. Like I'm not going to go back to America. I don't ever see myself living there full time again. And thinking about, raising kids here and how they'll have different accents than me and just the small growing pains of accepting the reality of leaving your home country for good. And I guess if there was anything to learn from that, is just being okay with that discomfort and just, using your support system and using your voice, talking about how uncomfortable this is, and don't pretend that it's not. It's a challenge, but it's also life and it's beautiful and it's hard. And I'm just so glad that we are where we are together. And I can't wait to see where we all are in 5 years.
I know, or even in a year. And I think when we lean into that discomfort, that's when we become even more of our best self. When we lean into that and then we grow and we flourish, and then that trickles out into other areas of our lives. And, when you said, I don't know if there's a lot to learn from me, but my parents are in this, quarter of this phase of their life that they're wanting to go and do something new and different. But the thing is in any phase of our life, we can go out and do that. And I think there's a lot to learn from you because, Arden, even though your parents did that, you decided to stay in your comfort zone in Dallas. So, but you chose to branch out and say, okay, I'm going to make that happen, knowing that it was going to be uncomfortable, knowing that it wasn't going to be easy, knowing that you didn't even have a visa, that you had to figure things out, right? So there's a lot to learn from you as well, because yes, your parents went over there and you said, I'm going to do it as well. But you still had a comfort zone in Dallas, in your own community, in your own country. and you broke away from that. And that's huge, going to a different culture, a place that you're not, I mean, you're a little bit familiar with, but not familiar enough that you've lived there before. Sure. It's, different people. It's a different way of living, all that stuff. So there's a lot to learn from you, because oftentimes we don't want to do something new or different in our environment and in the city we live in or in the state we're in. So there's a lot to learn from all that you're doing. And I can't wait to continue to follow you and see all the
cool so much
that you unpack and do, and not just the renovation on the house, but just in life, what y'all explore and uncover and discover. I think it's going to be so fascinating, and it's just beginning. That's what's so cool about it.
Beginning. It really is. It really is.
So thank you so much for being here, Arden, and for sharing your story. What can you in your life lean into in that discomfort and get out there and grow and learn and explore to really become a more amazing you? Because like Arden says, that's just the beginning. Like, even though she said maybe you can't learn a lot from her, but you can learn a lot from her, because no matter what phase of your life that you're in, you can go out there and do something new or different, or going to a different country, or just trying something in your own hometown. So thanks so much for being here. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you so much.
Are you ready to move to your next level of rockstar greatness? CFO, Chief Fun Officer, #1 best-selling author, and keynote speaker Blaze Rector is ready to help you do that. At just 10 years old, he's already written 2 #1 best-selling books. Through the power of storytelling, he uses lessons learned and shares strategies, tips, tactics, and tools to inspire, empower, and motivate you to live a more amazing life. So if you're ready to do that in your own life, grab a copy of his #1 best-selling books at jessicarector.com/store. And when you order your copies, he will personally autograph them and write you a message on those books before shipping them out to you to really inspire and empower you in your life. These books are great for adults and kids alike. So if you're ready to move to your next level of rockstar greatness, make sure you grab your copy at jessicarector.com/store. Enjoy those amazing, empowering, transformational books. Did you know that the 2 biggest issues impacting the workforce are mental health and burnout? Well, we have your solution. The more that you feel burned out, the more it impacts your mental health. The more your mental health is impacted, the more it leads to burnout. So it's a vicious cycle that goes around and around, but it doesn't have to be that way. You can help them both if you're intentional and strategic with it. We have lots of resources for you at jessicarector.com/store. One that I want to highlight that really enhances your mental health is Tame Your Brain Game, 52 tips to turn negative thoughts into positive action. Now, research shows that 80% of your thoughts are negative. No matter how positive you feel, it's the pattern and the habit that you've developed over the course of years, over the course of decades. And that can often impact your life, how you show up, how you lead, how you communicate, how you engage, whether at work or at home. And then it also impacts a work environment. All you need is one NN or TT, negative Nancy or toxic Tim, to really impact that work environment. So if you are ready to enhance your mental health, get your copy of Tame Your Brain Game, 52 tips to turn negative thoughts into positive action today at jessicarector.com/store. All books are autographed with a personal message just for you. Thank you so much for being here. Check us out at thesayyesexperience.com. Our mission at the Say Yes Experience is to empower 10 million people to say yes. With your help in sharing our podcast, we can do that. Follow us on all social media at the Say Yes Experience and join our free community at facebook.com/groups/the Say Yes Experience. Thank you again to our guest. You can find all the contact information for our guest in the show notes. Thank you to our CFO, Chief Fun Officer, Blaze Rector, our business advisor, Lisa Verhurick, and to our team at Jessica Rector Enterprises. We look forward to connecting with you on the next episode. Have an amazing day and keep being a rock star.